Good morning. Today is July 28, 2020. It's a beautiful day out here where I live. It's probably going to be humid and hot. Be a nice day for a hike. I actually love exercising. I try to stay as far away from people as possible. You know, it's sad. A lot of people say that they're trying to help prevent the spread of coronavirus. They're complaining about it constantly, yet they're doing everything that they're not supposed to be doing. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. So I ask you not to be hypocrites too. So let's take a look at what's going on across the different states. So I've been focusing on a variety of states since the beginning. Of course, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Illinois have been at the top of the list, and Pennsylvania because that's where I live. Virginia, I look at in Maryland because that's around where I'm from. I should probably include the District of Columbia, although it's a city, so that's why I don't put it in here because that's where I'm born. But let's take a look at these data here. Now, I'm using the Johns Hopkins website because that is the most trusted website of all. We have to worry about data integrity because there's too many people who are injecting politics into this, whether they're Trump supporters or non-Trump supporters. And the problem is when we do epidemiology or we do statistics, we have to rely on what data there are. We have to pray and hope. I'm not a very religious person, but I'll say it anyway. Pray. We have to hope that the data are valid and reliable. It's kind of hard, though, especially when we're dealing with testing, because testing, we can't even trust the test. When was the last time when you heard about the number of new cases that somebody discussed sensitivity and specificity of a test? They never do that. So I can't trust everything that I read, but we've got to deal with what we have. These are the data that we have. You'll notice that there are some gaps here. For instance, for Illinois, we don't have the recovered. Georgia, Florida, California. That's because these data are not being provided for whatever reason, at least on Johns Hopkins. And I'm not going to go to other sources because I don't trust them necessarily. If I do, I provide separate videos. So in this case, I will not do that. But because I don't have those data, I won't discuss prevalence. Prevalence is the number of cases. In this case, it's per 100,000. So because to actually have prevalence, we have to subtract those who are recovered. And that's kind of a lame statistic as it is, because how do we know when somebody's recovered? Does everybody confirm that they are recovered? They go back to wherever the data were collected and say, hey, I am recovered. I don't know. So, or are they being retested? So I don't really trust that. The only thing that I really trust are case fatality rate. That's the probability of dying if one has the coronavirus, and mortality rate. That's the probability of dying. Well, this is actually the probability of dying out of the entire population per 100. Well, it's not a probability. It's actually the number of individuals who die divided by the population multiplied by 100,000 versus case fatality, or I say percent fatal here, the probability of dying if you have the coronavirus. Also, you can see how many people are tested in these states. In the United States, we've tested, this is as of today, 28th of July 2020, we've tested over 52 million people. That's a staggering amount, and it's unbelievable. 52 million people. That's a lot. All right, so look at our population is 329, and this is based on the best available data I have. So 329 million individuals. We've tested quite a few people. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not perfect. Some people want to test everybody. I don't think that's even feasible, because what if you test somebody, they go home, they're waiting for the result, and while they're at home, they're interacting with somebody who has the coronavirus. So what's the point? The kind of testing that we're doing there it's I don't know what it gives us, but whatever it does. Okay, so let's look at these mortality rates. So the mortality rates, so I have this sorted from highest to lowest. Still New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, those ones are the highest because we had the most people die in those states. Doesn't mean that right now they have the most people dying at this moment, but they had the most at some point. And these first three states New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut are all surrounding New York, so that New York City has a big role here. Massachusetts, we have Boston. Louisiana seems to be an interesting case. I'll take a look at the figure in a second. The ones that people are very worried now are Arizona, Florida, and Texas, and California, because they've been in the news a lot lately. With Arizona, you have 45 per 100,000. So let's put this in perspective compared to, say, Connecticut. Connecticut's a small state. You had 123 per 100,000, so it's still a lot lower. Louisiana is 81 per 100,000. That's troubling. I'd say troubling, and a lot of this has to do with the health disparities too. Mind you, the people who are dying aren't the wealthiest people, because the wealthiest people are staying home. They have the luxury of being able to work at home, versus the poorest people, the minority individuals who have to go out and work and earn their living. Those are the ones who are more at risk. Plus, a lot of lower income minority individuals don't have the best health. They don't have the best health care. Obviously most people don't care about this, because if you were, and I'm going to put my political slant on here, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter who wanted to provide universal health care. You would have voted for him instead of this mainstream conservative Democratic group that you want. But that's not me, that's you. So let's see. And in Arizona, we're at 45 per 100,000. I worry a lot about Native Americans there, because they're making up a disproportionate amount of the deaths in that state. California, we're at 21. So put this in perspective. California is a huge state compared to New York State. Again, you have this high population density in New York City. However, you have a high population density in Los Angeles. You have 21 per 100,000 there, versus in New York at 167 per 100,000. Just keep that in mind. Understand those differences here. Nobody's selling you anything. I'm not trying to give you a political perspective. Again, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. Look, in some areas the situation was a lot worse than others. People were treated poorly. People didn't respond to the coronavirus correctly in the beginning. I think we're doing a better job now. The biggest problem we have now are that people are ignoring the recommendations. I would never go into a close space where there's close contact and masks aren't being worn. I go grocery shopping. That's the closest space that I get around other people. But I wouldn't go to a bar or a restaurant. A bar and a restaurant, you have to remove your masks to eat or drink. That doesn't make any sense at this point right now. Plus, you have close contact with us. Why would you do that? I hate to use this, but it's really stupid behavior at this time, if we want our economy to open up. In the U.S., our mortality rate is 45 per 100,000, and our case fatality is 3.447, which is a lot lower than it was when I originally was looking at this. It was trending up to 5, but it's never really gone up that high. So that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing that we've done. You look at Connecticut, you have 9 people. The probability of dying is 9%, basically. Scary, sad. Why are the probability of dying higher in those states than it is in some others? Like in California, there's only basically a 2% chance of dying if you have the coronavirus. In Florida, it's 1.371. So interesting stuff. So here's the figure to help you understand what's going on graphically. We're looking at mortality rate, so per 100,000. So this number of deaths divided by the population multiplied by 100,000. Obviously, New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, those ones are high, but you can see that they've kind of, this curve is kind of, I don't like to use the word flatten so much, because I hate all this BS that people do. You just want to use whatever term is popular. I hate being popular. So let's look at what's happening to those curves. Their slopes are changing direction. They're getting quadratic in style. The ones that are more troubling are here in Louisiana, which we see this uptick again. And if you look at the data, like even on the Washington Post and their website front page, they show the data in terms of cases. Well, this is troubling in Louisiana. It's also troubling in Arizona. Again, I'm worried about the Native American people in particular in Arizona because they're dying at a disproportionate rate. You look at Florida, you see an uptick here, and then Texas. So those are expected, right? California seems to be, steadily moving up, but it's not that great compared to these other states. So that's the report for today, the 28th of July 2020. Look, if you really wanted to stop this disease, don't travel now. You're not supposed to be traveling in many states. You can pick up and go anywhere you want, but you'd have to lie that you've self-quarantined in some states. And I bet you a lot of you are doing that. And it's sad. It worries me. Don't do that. If you really, really want to stop this, stay home. Staycations are awesome. Don't go to any bars. Don't go to any restaurants. I don't care if they're outdoor seating or what. Just don't. If you really want to stop it. If you don't, then do whatever you're doing. All right. Well, have a good day. All right. Bye-bye.